Repair your credit like the pros. Chapter 15. Deleting collections and charge-offs like the pros. If you have a collection or charge-off account on your credit report, this chapter alone is more than worth the price of this book because it has the potential to save you hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars, as well as grief, stress, and insomnia. Science tells us high levels of stress can harm us physically, causing headaches, stomach disorders, and more. Financial stress has been known to cause good love relationships to go on the rocks. I would think that is motivation enough. If you've been searching the internet for how to take care of collections and charge-offs, you might have come across some false information because there's a lot of it out there. 3 misconceptions you don't want to fall prey to. Question number 1. If my account was charged off, does that mean the company got a tax write-off and therefore I no longer have to pay the account? Answer is no. That would be like saying if I steal a leather jacket from Macy's, does that mean that they get a tax write-off so I can keep the coat for free? Wouldn't it be dandy if that were true? We could all become thieves and help companies lower their taxes at the same time. If your account is a charge-off, you still owe for the product or service you purchased. It is still going to hurt your credit score until you get it taken care of. I will tell you the best way to do that later in this chapter. Question number 2. If my unpaid bill is sold to a third-party collection agency and I never had an agreement with that agency, am I off the hook for the bill? Answer, no. No. That is a myth based on only half the truth. Selling unpaid bills to collection agencies is a common practice, and it is legal. You still owe for the product or service you purchased. The collection agency must follow the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act in order to legally collect from you. You have every legal right to hold them to this before sending any money, as explained in Chapter 2. Question number 3. If I negotiate a settlement on my collection or charge-off and end up paying only a fraction of what I owe, will that harm my credit score? Is negotiating a settlement a bad thing to do? Answer, that is some lie some collectors try to feed you. Negotiating a settlement is not a bad thing. It is a good thing, and you should do it. Getting a settlement and paying less will not make your credit score go down. What's more, don't be intimidated by collectors who try to scare you by saying you'll have to pay taxes on the savings, because all it ends up being is less money out of your pocket than paying the entire balance. So definitely, go for the settlement. Just make sure you do it like the pros do, as I'll go on to explain. A precept that works for some people. If you live at a different address than the address you had when the collection account was originated, then before you do anything, get that address removed from your credit report. This way, the credit bureau will not be able to use the address to tie you to the collection. This can help in disputing that the collection belongs to you. In the case of an old paid-off collection, this is particularly effective. If you have a common name, you can write a letter that says there are more than 50 people with your same name in the U.S., and this account is not yours. You can Google your name and be specific. Without an address connecting you to the account, you have an excellent chance of getting it deleted. If you have an old paid-off collection and can remove the address first, then use the credit investigation form to dispute that it is yours. Handwrite on that form that there are 52 or whatever the number is, people named Jesse, and that is mistaken identity. So just replace Jesse with your name. However, if you are still in the same address, don't despair. Proceed as follows. Take the proper steps to delete the collection with a balance legally. First, get your debt validation as explained in Chapter 2. If you didn't get it, use the letter template at the end of this chapter to remove the collection off your credit report. If you are fortunate enough to be successful, you will be rid of the collection without paying any money. If you did get the validation, skip that particular letter and read on. Next, and very important, negotiate a settlement that includes a deletion agreement. Settlements are negotiated every day, but most people don't think about adding a clause that says when the creditor receives the money, the debt will be considered paid as agreed, and subsequently, they will report to the credit bureaus to delete the collection. This is the big secret attorneys and certified credit specialists use. An important note, the correct verbiage is paid as agreed. It is not paid in full, which is inaccurate. If you ask the creditor to write paid in full, they will say no, because you are settling, not paying in full. Paid as agreed is the language the credit bureaus need to see in order to remove that collection. If you paid as agreed, then it means the collection is in error and must be removed. Is this legal? Yes, it is. The creditor owns your credit information. Therefore, they can choose to report it or not. Reporting information to the bureau is not mandatory. The art of negotiation. Don't be shy about communicating to the creditor. That's all negotiating is, communicating. Some people feel like they hate negotiating because they envision an ugly, uncomfortable argument, but negotiating like the pros is not that way at all. I have executed many negotiations for my mortgage clients, and there were never any insults, swearing, yelling, or name-calling. I use a professional tone of voice as one professional communicating with another, with a goal of accomplishing an agreement that is acceptable to all parties. For negotiating settlements, I prefer to do it by telephone. That way, the back and forth takes place at one time and is more time effective. Also, they hear in your voice that you are a sincere person. To help you, here's a simple script you can adopt to your own situation. My name is, then state your name. My credit report shows that I have collection with your company with a balance of $5,000. I'd like to get it taken care of, but I don't have the full $5,000. I can come up with $1,275. If you're willing to settle for that amount, I can send you a cashier's check right away. Important strategies. Don't ever say you need to clean up your credit report to buy a car, a house, or to refinance. That will tell them you are anxious, and then they will hold out for more money than they otherwise would. Don't let shark smell blood. Don't be in a rush to pay the creditor. Instead, let them be in a rush to offer you an acceptable settlement so they can get their money. Don't believe threats that they will withdraw their settlement offer if you don't pay by a certain date. As one credit repair expert told me, that's baloney. They will always want money, and 99% of the time, they will make a deal if that's what it takes. Always offer a precise odd number, not a round number. It is better to say that you can come up with $1,275 than $1,000 or $2,000, because it sounds like you are counting every dollar you have rather than throwing up some random estimate for them to jack up. At this point, don't mention deleting it off your credit report. Not yet. That comes after you have agreed on a payment. If the collector replies by saying, if you settle for less than the whole balance, it will show on your credit report that you settled, and that won't look good. Then you say, I already know that, and I'm not concerned with it. Will you accept $1,275, or would you rather I pay nothing at all? See how that sweeps aside their ridiculous scare tactic and get back to the issue at hand, the dollar amount of the settlement. If the collector replies by saying, if you settle for less than the entire balance, you will have to pay income tax on that savings. Then you say, I already know that, and I'm not concerned with it. Will you accept $12.75, or would you rather pay nothing? I pay nothing at all. Again, keep on track with the subject, the dollar amount of your settlement. Important note: don't get into discussions about your credit report or taxes. You'll lose power when you get into an arguing mode. Your taxes should not be their concern. They're collectors, not certified tax accountants. Don't get sidetracked and don't get bullied.